everyone. We took last week off so we could celebrate family and friends and food. I had a wonderful time with my family and friends, and I hope you guys did too. And I have such an interesting topic to talk about today. Jessica, did you want to say anything just in general before we jump in?
No, I'm good. I'm interested in the topic.
Okay, the topic today is I'm married and I don't like sex and my partner wants sex. How to handle and negotiate that. How would you handle that client that comes in and
I
it's
have
like, I
several
don't
of
like
those.
sex. Yeah. Okay. What would you tell them?
um, one, I think it's also addressing each person individually
Hmm.
in that what makes you want to stay in this relationship, what makes you value and want your partner as your partner.
Hmm.
Kind of like going back to our previous episode where we talked about like when to cut the cords or when to realize that this is not the relationship. Like
Hmm.
evaluate it that way. Um, Asking the person who does not want sex, would you be able to compromise and have sex some for your partner?
Hmm.
Is that even a negotiable option? If it's not, absolutely fine, but we have to ask the question to like, where
Hmm.
are the parameters that we can kind of negotiate? Asking the partner that wants sex that isn't getting the sex they want, can you go without sex? Is there a minimum requirement? Can you just
Hmm.
say no sex is on the table? So we have to kind of establish. I almost think of it as like not the battlefield, but like the room that we're in. Where are the walls? Where are the doors? Where's the furniture to be able to kind of like how do we navigate through this room? We have to know where things
Hmm.
are and what that looks
Hmm.
like. And I think that's going to be the primary part of okay, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about this? And like, what are you willing to compromise on? Yeah, that's kind of the first thing that's coming up for me.
Yeah, so same thing. So basically, a lot of negotiation, being brutally honest. And
Mm-hmm.
then I want, and I know being brutally honest is hard to do. It is hard to do. So even though I'm saying being brutally honest, still do it with tact and love and care, So I statements, I feel, my experience is. And then what I want the couple to do is really get down into the nuts and bolts and details of what don't you like about sex and where the meat in the middle is. And so usually when I have every now and then when I have this happen, this couple in, the person who says I don't like sex, okay, but do you like you're getting your back rubbed? Well, yeah. Okay, great. There's something we can do there. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think sometimes well, I don't like sex or I don't want to have steps. Sex is such a broad statement. Okay, let's define what sex is to
Mm-hmm.
you. When does touching become sex?
Mm-hmm.
And all these things that are in the middle. And so making sure a couple identifies those things are in the middle and figure out where the meat in the middle is.
Mm-hmm.
For some of my cat moved quick. It just came through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my couples have found that there are some activities that they can do where the one person doesn't feel like this sex, but the other person gets their sex need met.
Mm-hmm.
And so like laying and caressing each other naked,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe something completely different, like doing some dominance and submission play.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can still be very intimate and the person may not feel like it's sex. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I would want a couple to do, and if y'all are listening to me and you can't find this on the internet because I have it, is to develop a sexual menu or just a whole list of activities, and let's go through and see, is this a meet in the middle activity? Would you like this? Would you like this? Would you like this? Would I like this? And really just go down the list. And so I have several of those lists, at least two. And so email me, Natalie at natalieelliott.com, or DM me on LinkedIn, like get in contact with some way. And I'll get those lists, but you can find them on the internet, I'm sure. And so whatever is easiest for you, but really sit down and think about what's on our menu. And how often do we need it? Okay. I will say historically, when a couple isn't having sex at all, the person who's feeling maybe sex starved will feel like they want it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And after there's been some satiation, if that's a satiation, I don't know if I said that correctly, but after we've re-engaged in physical activity. Oh, I didn't need it all the time. It's kind of like when you're hungry, right? And you go to a restaurant and you're like, I want every appetizer, 3 full courses, and 5 desserts. And then you get halfway through the appetizer. Oh, why did I order all that food? Like I'm full now. And so same thing can happen with sex when you're starving for it. Oh, I want it all and I want it all the time and I want it right now. And then when we create some balance in the relationship and we start figuring out what are all of your needs for physical intimacy, what does that look like? How can we fulfill them in this way, this way, this way, and this way? Then it will so lower the need for sex, you know? I'm hungry. I think that's why all my examples are food right now because I skip breakfast. But like they say on like half the diet things that I've gone on, like drink a bottle of water before you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you drink a bottle of water, it'll help fill you up a little bit so you won't need as much. So this is the same concept. So figure out what that thing is for you. So it might be we hug and cuddle 5 minutes a day. And that's okay for both partners. It may be we take a shower together. And so we're still touching, we're still intimate, but it doesn't feel sexual for one person and it feels that physical intimacy for another person. And so there's a plethora of things that can be done just as a couple need to sit down and think about it and talk about it. I think the other thing is understanding that your partner's dislike for sex is not a dislike for you. So it is not a rejection of you. But if they liked me more, they'd want sex with me. No, if they don't like sex, they don't like sex. Period.
I have a
Go
couple
ahead.
of thoughts. So
Yes.
one, I want to comment on your brutal honesty. One, just because brutal honesty, the comment at the beginning of like, we need to be brutally honest. That is so important because it's still brutal even if you're not honest.
Ooh.
What
Okay.
you are experiencing, the walking through eggshells, the pretending it doesn't exist,
Mhm.
that is another form of brutal. It's just quieter.
Mhm. Yes.
And so we have to understand we're picking our hard. Like
That's good.
we
Oh, that's
we
so
can
good.
pick a transparent hard, or we
Yeah.
can pick a okay, life is just really terrible and I'm miserable all of the time.